was a filing yesterday. Now Read's team is appealing to the country's highest court. What does that mean for the case right now? Obviously, we're in jury selection, so this was appealed. What does that mean for the case right now?
Probably won't affect the case initially. At some point, if everything fell into place and the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the defendant, then two of the charges would be knocked out, particularly the murder charge, no matter what happened at the jury trial or if the trial was still going on. It does take a while, though, for this process to unfold. And the U.S. Supreme Court, if they did grant certiorari, which means they'd agree to hear it, which they rarely do in any case, if they did agree to hear it, that hearing might go on 3 months later, and then the decision would come down the line much later also.
Now, as far as that process, what does that look like for, the Supreme Court to decide to hear a case? What goes into that? What does that process look like?
Well, since they only agree to hear about 1% of all cases that request to be heard by the U.S. Supreme Court, they really are very selective and want something usually with a major constitutional issue. This actually does have a very interesting constitutional issue. If the jury acquits somebody, finds somebody not guilty, but they don't follow the proper procedures, don't do the paperwork right, don't announce it in open court, should the court still enforce the intent of the jury, even though they didn't follow any of the proper formalities? That's an interesting constitutional issue, and that's why this has a little bit of a chance of being heard, not a great chance, though.
Now, do the justices have to vote, or how do they decide?
What happens is, to just even agreeing to hear the case, at least 4 of the 9 justices have to agree to grant it what they call certiorari, where the U.S. Supreme Court will hear it, and then at a hearing, it's majority vote of the 9 justices.
So say there is a decision made to take up this case and it's in the middle of the trial or in the middle of jury selection. What happens then? Does the trial have to stop, or what would happen?
There can be a petition to stay the trial. Not sure how that would be granted, and the trial will probably be underway before that's even heard. But yeah, it could be stopped at any time, but it would be very unusual once a jury's selected and they've gone through that process and then a trial's undergoing. The chances of a stay being issued are not really that great.